I'm Bill, and this is my attempt at cooking while I rant about Yellowjackets. I will continue doing this until I accidentally cut my thumb off. So to start, I think the actors on Yellowjackets are, pretty solid. I think they're doing the best job they can with the material that they're given. That's also, I think, one of the crutches of the show, is I think this kind of prestige television show kind of solely depends on the performance of their actors, because as the story gets weaker and weaker, it's kind of the job of the actors to sell it and to make it still worthwhile and worthwhile entertainment. So I just want to start that all of the complaints I have really come from the writing. But many prestige television shows really should probably have just been one season, because I highly suspect they were honestly pitched as one season with these open-ended ideas that they could explore for future things, but really the creators or the writers really kind of had a lock on like one central idea that they were going to just knock out of the park. Yellowjackets really should have just been one season, because the first season was great. For the most part, all of the present day stuff I think is pretty boring. Why? Because they all grow up to be these miserable and boring people who are just sad and miserable all the time, making everybody else sad and miserable, going on this sad and miserable adventure that's mostly off screen for some reason. Let's keep reminding the audience that this is like real life, so don't expect like this high intensity drama or this high stakes mystery with all these twists and turns, because that's not what life is like. You get this boring, miserable story that also, it just, in my mind, it kind of ruins some of the mystery of the past, because a bunch of these characters make it, so no matter what peril you get them in the past, if they're alive in the present, unless there's a sudden reveal of I've been a ghost this whole time, you kind of ruined that mystery already. In my mind, I'm going to be comparing the present to the past, and the past, suburban high school girls soccer team lost in the wilderness, forced into cannibalism, get into some cult stuff, versus anything in the present day. I'm going to focus on the past. Season 3 gets real rough when they bring in the frog researchers. Yeah, the frog researchers. And Joel McHale as the hunter leading the frog researchers, coming out of nowhere, is very like, oh, that's awfully convenient. They are this hand of God way out of like, hey, you know how everything's been miserable and everything's been on fire and everything's awful? Want to leave? And some of the characters go, nah, I'll wait for the next bus. Also, this character of Hannah, one of the frog researchers, is basically the creator's way of patting themselves on the back, because Hannah kills Joel McHale, who's the main person that could probably get everybody out of this situation. She just kills him and turns around and it's like, you know what? I want to stay here because this is the most fascinating character drama I've ever witnessed, which is, to me, just the show going like, we did such a good job. This is so clever. It's like, you bring in a new character to then just kind of comment on how amazing this show is. Like, alright, show, calm down. Why don't you write a little better before you keep patting yourself on the back? These are suburban kids that have been driven to their absolute limit. I was a suburban kid. If I was in this situation, I don't know what I would do. And it's like, so yeah, they probably find some easy ways out, which sadly, they found to be cannibalism. Since none of the characters are like extreme campers or like survivalists, I don't believe that any of them should truly be comfortable in the woods. And initially they start with that. In season 1, it feels fairly accurate. Yeah, these are kids that are completely out of their element. They're trying to figure out their existence, and that's why the cannibalism element is so kind of in some ways realistic and scary. In, I think, that extreme scenario, it's like free food, effectively. It's just this scary, like, wow, we just ate food. Wow, we're surviving another day, and oh my god, that was from eating another person. What does that mean? And do we keep doing the cannibalism thing? Are we getting good at cannibalism? We should pull away from cannibalism. We shouldn't do that because cannibalism's bad. But then there should always be a way that they're forced to go back to cannibalism, because that's the most interesting drama, and that is also showing how they're never truly safe because they're in the woods. Like, I feel like a suburban kid is only as tough as an argument that can end in going to Starbucks. It's just like, I'm gonna yell at all my friends and tell them they're stupid and lame, but then, to cool off, I'm gonna get like, my favorite latte. So at the end of season 3, when some of the characters decide to stay, I don't buy that. Especially when they literally have characters reminiscing about all of the snacks they miss, and Misty is still dreaming about using toilet paper. Even at the end of the day, when all of you think you are comfortable, you're not comfortable because you're in the fucking woods. You're not where your stuff is. You want to go home. The only one that makes sense to stay is Lottie, because Lottie feels more comfortable in the woods. which they've set up. So I would get Lottie willing to stay. So when Shauna's like, nah, I'm not going to go home because, it's not my idea. You're all like following Natalie. You're no longer listening to me. That's all dumb. I think you're all dumb and I'm going to stay back because I just, I'm more right than you are. I would only believe that if she was home. Yeah, you're the most edgy suburban high school student I've ever seen. I grew up with a bunch of Shaunas. I get that. But, I grew up with a bunch of Shaunas in the suburbs. But I don't believe any suburban kid is going to choose shitting in the woods and wondering, am I going to eat today? And especially the way that she and Thais are kind of like, we're going to go later. We're not going to go this time. We're going to go later. It's just the audacity to think like, what later? What later? The next band of researchers? You're going to wait for the next group to just magically show up and go, hey, by the way, do you want to go home now? And especially Thais' argument of like, we can't leave. We've murdered someone. There's a crime scene. They're gonna know we've murdered. We gotta clean everything up. They're gonna look for fingerprints in the woods. Like, no they're not. No they're not. One, she just sounds like she's in an action movie now. Two, no one's gonna care about your crime scene in the woods because everyone's gonna lose their shit when they finally learn that you're all alive. It's gonna be like, oh my god, you're alive? Holy god, we're so happy you're alive. And considering no one's been looking for them, I don't buy that anyone in this universe is going to have the know-how to do an investigation. No one's smart enough to be like, wait a minute, what happened back there? This looks like a murder! The characters are no longer making choices as people. They're making choices as edgy characters. Kind of spitballing another random potential, like, high-concept idea. Like, even if, say, this was, like, Heat. Teen Heat. Say they're all a bunch of, like, high school robbers. They're planning out different heists and they're getting into all that kind of shenanigans. And even say like Shauna is the edgy one and maybe Shauna discovers that she's really good with a gun and so she's the expert marksman and she's getting into it. She's getting a little bit too into this because it's like, it's no longer based off of the original, like we have to do this because we don't have enough money. And now it's like, but I want to do it because it's fun. I would believe that more. And then it's like, say, I don't know, in this crazy Heat situation, say one job goes extremely wrong and everyone's like, I want to run. We have a chance because probably in this Heat kind of story, there's going to be a mole in the FBI or the police and it's going to be one of their friends and they're going to be like, if you leave right now, you can escape. And so everyone's going to be like, I want to escape. But then Shauna, who's the big edgy one, is like, no, I want to stay because I like this life and I hate my old life. I would buy that in the Heat scenario because it's still with that suburban energy of like, yeah, as long as I'm basically where my stuff is, I'm going to be completely confident. I feel like it would have been more interesting at the end of the season to have all the characters devolve into chaos because it kind of would show that like, yeah, they all thought they had this like newfound community and understanding in the woods, but everything goes to shit when they're suddenly like, hey, do you want to go home? Let's go home. Screw it. Yeah, let's go. Like they literally abandon everything. They start pushing and shoving each other. That would have made more sense. It would have been interesting if it's like, oh my god, there's only enough supplies to get 6 of us home. And there's 12 of us. That would have been the interesting story. Season 4 should have been just them trying to get home. It's kind of like the same issue that, like, I feel like How I Met Your Mother had, where it's kind of like there could have been a season where, like, he's with the mother. It's the first year or two that they're together, so maybe there's some rocky moments. Maybe they don't hit it off as much initially. He can meet the mother, but she's not the mother yet, so there's more story to tell. Season 4 of Yellowjackets could be the Yellowjackets going home, but going home is different than being home. That would be interesting. It would also be more interesting if we didn't know how many of them made it to adulthood, because that's just kind of boring, isn't it? It's just like, I don't know, they're going to be fine, 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 and they're going to be fine. So cool, there's like 2 people that may or may not die. Neat. They're the least developed characters. Neat. Sure hope that person survives, because I love how they pick up stuff and occasionally put stuff back down and occasionally bicker with that character. Can't wait to see that they didn't make it, or oh, they made it too. Whoa. So it's just that would have been the more interesting case. It's still finding the human story. Okay, I've had a little bit of time to think over the ending. Like, what could you do or could have been done to actually make Season 3 work and potentially create a entertaining Season 4? And my thought is that they should have made Lottie more of a big bad. And I don't need her to be like a supervillain big bad with all these crazy magical powers, just she thinks that there is some answer, mystical or magical, in the wilderness, that they just believe in the wilderness, good things will come. And then she can have like a follower or two that just in this cult-like scenario where we've been following you, and so far when we follow you, we stay alive. And in that just kind of cult mentality, they've been broken down and rebuilt in Lottie's image, and they're just like, whenever you do something, we all stay alive, so we're trusting you. We trust you to stay alive, no matter how promising and realistic you would think the option of going home would be. They no longer know what to trust because it's like, we've been in the wilderness, we've been gone for so long, we can only trust what we see. We see Lottie, when we follow Lottie, we stay alive. So that group ends up killing the frog researchers. It could justify Shauna's attitude of like, well, you should have just been listening to me the whole time. I would have done this so much better, but no one listens to me. Because now Shauna's saying that in terms of, if you had followed her, you'd all be going home now. She clearly would have had the best way to go home, and if only you hadn't listened to Lottie and all this stupid wilderness talk, we could have just gone home now. And this could even give Misty the option of maybe having a turnaround of doing something good. It can kind of make her character a little bit more understandable, because right now she is kind of really evil, because she's the whole reason they're stuck there, because she destroyed the radio. Because she found this newfound, like, oh my god, I actually am fairly competent out here. I'm the only competent one. People are looking up to me in a little bit. There's a newfound respect here. But as the show progresses, she starts seeing everyone devolving back into their kind of high school roles. Now that they've seemingly made this working system in the wilderness, which again, the whole point should be it doesn't really work, they just think it works. They've made this working system in the wilderness, but because they're doing that, they're now devolving back into their old high school habits where there's infighting, there's bickering, there's like snide comments, there's like, they're getting into really petty stuff. It's like, Misty starts seeing that and going, okay, it's all cycling back. This is now dirty to me. This is disgusting. I don't want to be here. I no longer like this. She should actually kind of find a way for them to get home, because then it could kind of be this like, well, she did keep them there, but she is ultimately one of the reasons they actually left. And right now I like Natalie's trajectory. If she's just kind of set on like, nope, all this isn't working, this is all sickening, I'm gonna do it. I also think by making Lottie a little bit more of the big bad, if she's suddenly yanked home and then they all are rescued, I think it kind of could create like, but she still always thought the cult was working. And then when she kind of keeps the cult going and keeps this whole wilderness jazz going, the present day characters, I think it could give them a little bit more meat. She's still talking about the wilderness. She's still saying all this wilderness stuff, and to them it's like the wilderness is what nearly killed us. Like, yes, we all believed in this cult for like different spatterings of time while lost in the wilderness, but it's just, it ended up being our demise. We could have gone home sooner, but you destroyed our chances of going home sooner because of this crazed cult. It's one of the reasons why they bury it deep down. They don't even like bringing it up. They hate talking about it. Then when they see that Lottie has a full cult, it's like, oh my god, it's potentially starting again. Is their big cult ending going to be they all hop on a plane and purposely crash on an island? Like, what's going to happen? Or in the wilderness, it's like, what's going to happen? This is so bad, we have to stop it. It would give them so much more juice in the present day. It would give them more to actually be fighting for, because it's this whole idea of the wilderness and the cult is so viscerally disgusting to them, and they hate themselves for believing in it once, but then they hate it more because they just know how much it's wrecking people, and they could even still be feeling really bad for Lottie. We don't just want to destroy her, we want to help her. I feel like dramas have this problem where their big question is always like, how do you keep them doing the thing that's the main thrust of the series? And when do you finally let them do the thing? This is kind of the drama issue version of the sitcom problem of like, will they, won't they? When will the two leads get together finally? And it's just, how long are you going to stall it? Are they going to get together? Are you going to break up? What's going to happen? The drama problem is kind of like, and this kind of goes back to they create really good one-season ideas that then it's like, okay, people liked it. We have them trapped in the wilderness. How do we keep them trapped? And then how long can you keep them trapped to keep it interesting? Because it's almost kind of becomes like a basic tenet of improv in a scene. If two characters are about to do a thing, say like in the scene the characters are getting ready to get married, they probably should be getting married by the end of the scene, because it's just, that's what they're talking about the whole time. How long are you going to stall? So in Yellowjackets, when are they going to go home? And then the way to keep that going is you keep drawing out effectively. It's getting harder and harder to get home. Or it's like maybe they almost get home and you create a new problem. So then when Lottie kills their chance of going home, season 4 should be the, oh my god, we're stuck here again. And now we all are aware of our true colors. We're all in this for ourselves. No matter what we might say to each other, we're really just in this for ourselves. They started, they don't want to be here, they were all fighting and they were all having issues. They've had bickering throughout, but this I feel like would be just truly now they know each other's colors and now no one trusts anyone. How do they survive? And especially knowing, because of the present day, a bunch of them survive. How do they survive when they legitimately trust no one? Do any of them actually feel comfortable going to sleep? That would be an entertaining season 4. And then I think it's smart to end it at season 4 because that's not the last really solid idea. The only way I could conceive maybe a season 5 is if the show had the guts to have them get rescued, but then the whole idea of, yes, they're rescued, but they're not home yet because they've embraced the wilderness, some of them begrudgingly, they've embraced the wilderness, so now when they go home, they are the wilderness at home. So they're still isolated, they're still alone, but home. Because they're not just going to readjust perfectly. There could be infighting, there could be weird things. You could see Lottie still trying to do cult stuff. Maybe some of them are still listening to her. Some tragic stuff can happen then. That would potentially be an interesting way of doing that, of just like, they're home, but they're not home yet. And then maybe by the end of season 5, if they were to do this, this officially connects past to present day. Like that. So I think just that would be, I think, an actual way to potentially have done the show more or less as it is, just making it a lot more justified and just using the basic idea that the show presented that I feel like they've lost. That would actually make the characters' motivations make sense. Ultimately, the show will be viewed as season 3 is the weakest season, but if they just have the guts to end the show when it's good, it'll go down as a really decent show that, yeah, it had one little slip up, but then it ended strong. If they can stick the landing, the show will go down in history as overall, this was a great show. And I would like that to happen because I don't think it's so bad. It deserves to be like everyone should hate this show. It shouldn't be hated. They should only kind of hate the show for how little the show seems to care about itself. If we can just get the show to believe in itself, it will be enjoyable again.